Welcome. Let me just get that.
Thank you,
Good
Charles.
job. So we know this is being recorded. Thank you, Mimosa, for that beautiful introduction and explanation of what we do. Sorry for those of you that missed it. Just more incentive to come to our live programs. That being said, for those of you that are not with us, we want to welcome you as well. And we're going to go through this website that we've built pretty much step by step for what you can expect and where you can find things. And if you have any questions along the way, we're going to stop throughout it asking for questions and answers. But I'm going to start with asking Charles to share his screen, if you wouldn't mind. So a lot of you have signed up through the website, which is our landing page right here. Depending on when you signed up, you may have gotten different forms. It wasn't until we went live that our form became the proper way to register. So Charles, if you wouldn't mind, if you haven't seen or done this yet, and you're signing up for our program, we need you to go through this following process. So you'll see right at the top there, there's a button that says, let's get started. And if you click that button right there, it's going to bring you to this page. So if you haven't seen this blue login page and you've seen a different form, you need to go back into the landing page and click on here to get registered. You're going to see at the bottom a little button that says sign up right there. Yes. And if you click on that, there's this form that you fill out and you can go through it answering all the questions of your name, your child's name, your homeschooling journey. And then it's going to bring you, once you go all the way to the bottom, once you hit register, it won't allow for Charles to do it now, but it'll just bring you to enter in your payment information. And once you enter your payment information, that's when you're fully registered. For those of you that are members of the Schoolhouse in New York or the Schoolhouse Anywhere in Vero Beach, you've received a code because that is part of your tuition. But the rest of you that are signing up, you just go ahead and sign up with all of your information and then you'll be registered. And then you'll have access to the flower that I am about to show you. So thank you, Charles. Does anyone, just before we go to the flower, does anyone have any questions about that particular step? No questions? Raise your hands. We're good? Okay, great. So I'm going to share my screen now and I'm going to show you our flower. Can everyone see this? Got it? Great. So when you arrive and you log into our page and we make it active for you, right now when you come on, it just says it's summer because we're not ready to go live yet because we all start together. So we start on Monday, so you start on Monday. And when you log in on Monday morning, you're going to see this flower. There's actually 2 different flowers that you're going to see depending on the program that you signed up for. So if your child is age 3 to 6 years old, kindergarten, pre-K through kindergarten, you're going to see this. This is our primary flower. But if your child is aged 1 or is in 1st grade through 6th grade, you're going to see our elementary flower. They both work in the same fashion. So we're just going to go through the elementary because it has a little bit more in there than the primary as far as subjects go. So let's start. Let's see. When you get into this flower, let's see what our first thing is. The first thing I actually want to take you to is the curriculum. Since the curriculum is the foundation of our whole program, let me take you to the curriculum. And I'm going to have Mimosa talk to you a little bit about the curriculum. But before she does that, I just want you to note that there are 3 cycles, and she's going to speak to you about that. But this year, we are in cycle 1. So Mimosa, you want to talk a little bit about your curriculum while I bring that up for everyone?
I sure do. I'll try to stay brief because I could talk about this for hours on end. The curriculum is an amalgamation of various pedagogies. That's the first thing. The second thing is the curriculum tried to rid the schoolhouse of anything that doesn't work in school or that doesn't work in curricula across the nation. And the third aspect of the curriculum is that it has to be educator friendly and child engaged. Those are the 2 qualifications. So when we go to the first part, which is pedagogies, There are 4 pedagogies that over the last 11 years we've looked at in developing this curriculum. The first is the Montessori method. We are not a Montessori school. We actually operate way better than a Montessori school, mostly because we are attuned to her philosophy. She, of course, was a very famous scientist, and it doesn't take much to open a Montessori school. And so the 2 things I love, or 3 things that I love about Dr. Montessori's work: the materials, and we'll get into that as we start looking at math; the view of the child, respect and dignity. And also with Dr. Montessori, she had a very wide view of the world and a very positive view of the world. Remember, she opened her first school in about 1907. So her view from 0 to 12 years old was that we want to give children positivity. We do not want to be taking them down the road of all the negative stuff that happens in the world. It's not to say we don't want to cover that, but we will cover that. Someone will cover that when they are 13, 14, 15 years old. Reggio Emilia is a practice from Italy. It focuses on art, it focuses on parent community, and it focuses on documentation. So what you will see in our schools right now, if you walked into the schoolhouse, you have a lot of bare walls. And that's because we don't put up billboards or bulletins or all of those crazy things that you see in classrooms. The classroom belongs to the child. It does not belong to the educator. So as they create with their Reggio Emilia materials, and I can get more into that in a bit if people have questions about Reggio Emilia, you will see the documentation, what the project was about, photos of the project, and the art that they created on the walls of the classroom. The third is Socratic Seminar. You see active Socratic Seminar in the curriculum, and we give you what you need to participate in and set up Socratic Seminar. And the third is project-based learning. We want children to know how to start their own company, start their own service organization. How do you balance a checkbook? How do you do a P&L, right? And even at this young age, they do those things really well. So as Tara said, it is 3 years. Why is it 3 years? Because development of the child happens in 3-year cycles. So 0 to 3, very, very specific things are happening to that child. 6 to 9, 9 to 12. We want to tailor what they are looking at and what they are learning to the child in their development stage. That's the first thing. The second thing is there's so much out there to learn about. And when you are in a traditional school, what happens? You all know what happens, or you wouldn't be here. You have 45-minute increments. You are doing 1 unit a week. If you don't get that unit, your child is left behind. That is not how we operate here. When we want to learn about the beauty and majesty of the geography of North America, which is part of what we're learning this year, we want to deep dive into that. And we want to make sure that children know the very basis of this education that they are about to have over the next, let's say, 3, 4, 10 years. The other thing is in our 3-year cycle is we get to deep dive on things that are really important to the United States of America, things like our branches of government. So right now, if you were to ask even a 15, 16, 17-year-old, they would have a difficult time telling you about our history. They would have a difficult time telling you about any history in the world. But our history, because we live here, is particularly important, right? We know the statistic just came out. We're at 13% proficiency in the United States for US history. It's really sad. So we cover each year a different branch of government. And so this year we'll be covering the judicial. We will do a full run through of the Cherokee cases because we're covering Native America and the Cherokee and Cheyenne tribes. We will also do a full run through of the Scopes trial. By the time they leave this year, they will have a full understanding of the judicial system. So that is a really small nutshell. And I know Tara is going to be showing some of the components of the curriculum, so I'll save my input for that. One more thing, though. The first 18 pages of the curriculum are just about your child. It is just about settling in. And so at the schoolhouse, we take the first 5 days of school just to build relationships with the child, just to get to know them. I mean, even if you know them because they're your own child, they have developed differently over the summer. They are part of creating their own human being. And so this is giving you time. It's sort of a warm-up week to get into the curriculum, to set your classrooms, to set your intentions and your visions for the year. So that's the first thing you will see in the curriculum. And I always give you a lot of tips for that development stage and how to navigate some pieces of it.
Thank you, Mimosa. So I just want to show you, based on all of the things that you have told us, it's actually all in here. And I just want to show the parents here how to navigate that very briefly.
Sure.
If they want to go back and read more about all of the pedagogies that you just spoke about that are covered, they're actually right here in the flower. I was showing them as you spoke to them. And as you can notice that I'll go right here to Montessori because that was the first one you spoke about. Here's a video that Mimosa just gives a brief description. And here's numerous articles if you want to read more about it, as well as book recommendations. And we have this for every single one of the pedagogies. So anyone that wants to deep dive further into those different pedagogies to fully understand them, there's so much information right here housed on our website for them to do that. The second one is when they're ready to dive into the curriculum, which will be Monday, we're going to go right here to cycle 1. And this is where we have 3 doors. The curriculum is where the actual curriculum that Mimosa has written is stored. And you have here lower elementary, which is essentially 1st grade through 3rd grade. And you have upper elementary, which is 4th through 6th grade. If you're on the primary pedal, it's just going to have your primary curriculum on there. I've downloaded it in advance just to save us some time, but just to show you that this is what the curriculum looks like. And I was scanning through it while you were speaking, so thank you so much. But you just simply—
Oh, great. So do you mind, Tara, if we can just hover on that first page there? Right, no, not the first page, but as we get down to the actual, I think it's page 8. Keep going. Right here. Nope. Down a little bit.
I'm getting to the first subject.
No, I'm sorry. I think it was page 6, but I just want to show the community here how things are laid out. Page 7. Thank you. Great. So you're going to see here AEC Upper Elementary Pacing Guide. No one be fearful or afraid. This is just letting you know. I've looked at hundreds of curricula. They are so confusing. They are all over the place. You can't follow them. If you're not a professional educator, even professional educators can't stand them, right? Because they also aren't synced together. So by the end of this year, everything that you are teaching your child in 6-week increments, okay, that's important. You're taking 6-week chunks and you're going to plan when you're going to teach certain lessons. Everything at the end is going to come together. It's one of the favorite things that our 36 educators at the schoolhouse talk about, that they sit there every May and they're like, oh my gosh, everything all came together. And so it's one of my favorite things. But when you see this, we're in cycle 1. You're going to be covering the great lessons. That is universe, writing, math, coming of humans, and coming of life. South America, we have a focus on this year because we're in the Americas, right? So every cycle we change to two separate continents. American history, Native American history in particular, and the judicial branch, as I spoke about before, interdisciplinary sciences this year. So if you were in cycle 2 or 3, next year, the year after when you join us, we study physics, we study deep biology, we study chemistry. But this year we are doing very cool interdisciplinary studies like inductive math, bacteriology, just these phenomenal things for kids. And now when you go down here, you will see when your 6-week session runs, September to the end of October. The theme for these 6 weeks is the team. And you'll see a story about team building. Just go one up just a little, Tara, back to 7 so I can read it. Thank you.
Sure, I'm so sorry.
And then the small stories that we're sharing are the stories of stars and planets, the stories of plants, geometry, the black strip, which is going to be your absolute favorite material. If anyone has a question, I'll answer that later. The story of team, friendship, and Native Americans. Those are small stories. Throughout your 6-week sessions, you're going to have a few small stories. And those are the ones you are going to set up for, you're going to prep for, and you're going to tell. The great stories, you're only doing 5 of them a year. And they all happen in the beginning of the year. So you're story heavy in this first 6 weeks, but it doesn't continue like that. And just below, I want to show you purpose, standards, lessons. So what we're telling you is, here's the purpose. It's math, it's language, it's science. here are the standards. I want everyone to see that they are fulfilling those standards. That's the first question you're going to get from your friends. Well, how do you know that they're learning anything? Well, they're certainly not going to learn anything taking a ditto and doing 45 dittos a day. They're going to learn by engaging with you. But you can always go back and say, oh my gosh, every single one of the New York standards is being covered here. And then the lessons are available for you. So Tara, just wanted to point that out, how the structure of the curriculum is set up, and everything is incredibly user-friendly.
Beautiful. Thank you, Mimosa. And just to help out to make it even more user-friendly, we actually have separated. So throughout Mimosa's curriculum, throughout the American Immersion curriculum, you're going to see books, film recommendations, and all stuff that supports the curriculum. We've isolated those right here for you. And this way you don't have to go through it. If you want to start by gathering these books, whether it's at the library, you can go there, or if you want to purchase them, you just simply click on this and it brings you right to the ability to purchase it. We tried
That's
to
a
make
great way.
I tried to make it as simple as possible.
Yeah.
When going back to here, also Mimosa, you spoke about the stories. So all of the stories that you release this year, and I know they get released periodically as the curriculum goes on, but all of the stories that you have here will be housed right here. And right now for day one, we just have the story of teams, but it's very simple. It's right here. All you have to do is click on it and it immediately downloads. And then you can print it out. And here's the story, all set for you for day one, including the link to the film that you watch along with it when you read the story. So going back here, that is our curriculum pedal. Are there
any, can I just ask for any questions, Tara? Do you mind? Or are there
that
any?
That was literally what I was gonna say. Are there any other questions before we move on?
I know that was a mouthful for a lot of folks that are just starting out in the world of education. Are there any questions? No question is too small.
I can't see. So Charles, does anyone have any questions?
I don't see any right now,
But
but
you can shout them out.
Yeah, feel free to unmute yourself, shout them out, or send them to me directly through the group chat, and we can get them to Mimosa and to Tara.
I see Ashley. I remember Ashley. Go for it.
Just to be clear, the curriculum that you just did for the pacing portion is the upper curriculum. So that's the grades 3 to 6. So the lower curriculum would be for younger ages. That's correct, right?
Yes. So elementary 2, we try to stay away from upper and lower. Elementary 2 is 4th, 5th, and 6th grade. Elementary 1 is 1st, 2nd, and 3rd grade. And primary are the first 2 years of pre-K. Generally, we start at 3 years old, and also includes kindergarten. And that's a great question, Ashley, because Charles actually said to me today, I think we should label it with the ages, because not everybody knows what those delineations are. So I appreciate you bringing that up.
I'm making a note of that, Mimosa. I'll have the website team take care of that.
Thank you. Yeah, great.
Just for clarity, there were only 2 different links for what I'm thinking you were talking about, but you just gave me 3, the 4 to 6, 1 to 3, and then the pre-K.
I can take that one. Ashley, you're gonna, you're gonna sign Ashley yours because your son is in kindergarten. He's gonna be in the primary pedal, on the primary flower. You have a completely, that was what we start off with. You have a completely different flower. So when you look on your curriculum right here, cycle 1, right here.
Yes.
That's yours.
Oh, okay. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. So as I said, there's a primary flower for the children ages 3 through kindergarten, as Mimosa was saying, and those have separate videos, separate films, separate everything for your child. But since it operates the same way, elementary has a few more things just simply for their age. So I'm going through the process with elementary, but everything for you in primary is exactly laid out the same. It's just the content that's a little different.
Thank you so much.
No problem. So
I also want to say, Tara, that the first 18 pages of the curriculum, that sounds like a lot. Do not remember 18 pages. The lessons are 1 column on the curriculum. So it is not something to get overly worried about.
Yes, no, it reads quickly as well. And I can just say that from experience from the past year.
18
Okay.
pages. What's really cool is that currently in New York, our 36 educators are practicing those 18 pages in the classrooms. So because we start with Anywhere the week after, still close to being in that 6-week cycle, or that 6-week session rather, you'll be able to see photographs and get feedback and see what the brick and mortar school is doing in New York as well. So it will help you through this process.
Mhm. Are there any other questions on the curriculum before we move on to the next portion of Petals? None? Oh, Donna. Hi.
Hi, how are you?
Donna?
Hi, Mimosa. My son attends the schoolhouse, and I just have a question. He has been sick the last 2 days. Unfortunately, he missed the first 2 days of school. Because you are a few days ahead, would he be able to catch up somehow? Because he was sick and missed 2 days, or I
Is he in
shouldn't worry
school
about
tomorrow?
that. Yes, he
Donna,
should be.
he'll be fine. He'll be fine.
Okay.
So because he's also a returning student and he knows the children there, he'll be
Yes.
fine. The second day today was about exploring materials in the room. He's already familiar with a lot of those materials.
Yes.
And I'm glad he's coming back tomorrow because that is a full day of material exploration.
Excellent. Okay.
Yeah, so you
great.
should be fine.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Anyone else? Okay. So I'm going to show you and bring your attention over here to our different subjects that we have here: math, biology, language, history, geometry, geography, and art. They all operate for the most part in the same way. So I'm just going to walk you through and show you a few of them. When you have access to this, you can explore it, but I just want to show you the process and the repetition that happens when you open them. So let's explore language first. So if we click on language, that brings you to an introductory film, as well as our different subjects. In each one of these subject topics, you're going to see numerous videos. And if I click on parts of speech, you'll see a bunch of films that you can see. You'll see two doors, one for films and one for printable materials. If you click on films, you're going to see a whole bunch of films. And you can watch them all. They're all in order for you to go through. And you can simply click on any one of them. Let's click on the nouns.
Hi, my name is Mimosa Jones-Tunney, and I am the founder and president of the Schoolhouse. Today, we're going to be talking about the noun. How many of you love the noun? Do you think about the noun? Do you dream about the noun? Probably not. Because when you learned about the noun in school, it was presented in a way that was probably not very memorable.
I could go on. That's one of my favorite ones. But you'll get to see him on Monday. But I just wanted to show you how easy it was to access the films. And if you go back, for everything that we're discussing in this section in the parts of speech, if you go to the printable materials, and I apologize for how slow my computer goes. But if you go to the printable materials, everything that we use on all of those films are right here for you to download. So these are our grammar boxes in a printable format. You simply just click on it, and right here it is. You can just print it out. So just get some good white cardstock, and you can utilize that for when you are working with your learner. And there's multiple pages of these too, so make sure you look through it all. Let's see. I want to take you back, and I also want to show you a really cool feature here that we also have. Back to our flower. If we look in biology, we have separated biology into its several subjects. But if we were to go into zoology, you'll see our blue sticky notes again that are our subtopics. And then if you go into animals, after our blue sticky notes come our doors. Once again, films and printable materials. And so each topic we are continuously adding as the curriculum goes along, we're continuously adding more and more content. So you'll see some now, you'll see more as it goes along. There'll be nice surprises that come about as you go on going, I didn't see this before, but that's because we've added it as we've grown in our content. Our goal is not to overwhelm you at first, but to have you follow along with us as we go through things. And I could just show you the math. It's the same process right here. And let's go into, let's try squares and cubes.
My favorite, Tara.
I know how much you love this one. Again, tons of films showing you how to do all sorts of things that you never thought you'd ever need to know with square roots, squaring, cubing, my favorites, obviously.
That's right. I promise when you do the square root material at home, your mind will be blown. You will be telling the story at every cocktail party or coffee shop you go to. It really, and you will sort of rue the day you were taught squaring and cubing any other way.
And here's all the different printable materials that we use when we do our different lessons. Obviously, not everything can be in a printable format. You certainly can't print, make a printable format when you have to move beads across a bar for the bead bar, but anything that could be in a printable format, we have created. Those are our subjects. Our last subject that I want to take you to is geography, because this is one unique feature that the rest of them do not have. And so when you get to geography, geography is a very big science that covers anything basically that has to do with the Earth, planet Earth. But one of the things that also this particular subject incorporates is culture. And so in Mimosa's curriculum, all of her stories are housed in the curriculum petal like I showed you, but we did take a select few and we combined them. So I'm going to show you this real quick. Anything that has to do with our continents. Mimosa, you want to speak to this a little bit more?
Sure. So understand how we cover continents in the 3-cycle curriculum. As I mentioned, we are on the Americas this year. Next year, we will go back to Asia and Oceania. And this past year, but 2 years from now, we will go back to Europe and Africa. We always start our geography, history, and cultural work with the formation, the actual formation of the land. Why do we do that? Because in coordination with that, we are instructing children about something called fundamental needs. And so throughout history, we as human beings have always needed, and animals as well, but that's in the biology section. We have needed to fulfill basic needs: clothing, housing, food, communication, transportation. And we explore why different cultures use different ways of housing themselves, communicating, transporting themselves. Well, so much of this is based on where you live. So if you live near the equator, you're going to be eating very different foods than if you live near or around the Arctic Circle. You're going to be having different housing opportunities. You're going to wear different clothing. And so what this does is when we start moving into more contemporary times, it gives children a phenomenal base of why certain cultures do certain things. And my favorite part about it is there is zero divisiveness, right? This is not about one culture over another culture and I'm more important, or what about this political issue, or no. Basically, all human beings are the same except for where they live and how that culture and how that continent, country, city, town has developed. And so when we tell the story, for instance, of Native America, we are telling the story of the very formation of the land beneath our feet, the formation of rivers, lakes, the 2 ocean coastlines, the formation, we get up into the Panama Canal and what that meant to the world. We keep everything in the curriculum incredibly focused on what children of this age need to know. And so this beautiful map that Tara has put together with our web team over the last year will allow us to highlight different places in the world and give those stories. I want to say one more thing though, because I get this question all the time, and that is, well, wait a minute, it's on a 3-year cycle. So do children learn the same thing in cycle 3 years later, cycle 1 3 years later? They do. It's always updated. That's number one, because a lot of things change in 3 years. And I work with a team to do that every summer. And number two, which is really the fundamentals of it. Your child is developmentally different than they were the last time they heard the story of Native America, or the last time they heard the story of Kenya, right? They could have been 5 at the time. Now they're 8. So they're in a completely different development stage. And what they could do when they were a kindergartner, when it came to, for instance, plant lore in Native America, which is something we're covering this year, is very different than what an 8-year-old can do in and around plant lore when they are in elementary.
Thank you, Mimosa. And so I just want to show, since we're starting with Native America and North America right here, that's the only continent that's highlighted. So we don't have our stories up just yet because we're not there in the curriculum, but I put one of these from last year just to show you, so that when you click on that continent, up will pop the story that's on there, as well as all the supportive materials that go along with that country. So, or that continent, or whatever it is that we're speaking of. And I did it this way, or we did it this way, because the stories that Mimosa has written for the different countries and continents are so encompassing. They're not just about that country. They're about the science behind different elements of that country. There's math involved. There's geography. There's geometry. There's every topic that's involved. And then we have a number of different materials that accompany those stories, like story choice boards, numerous picture walks that we make. The list is endless. And so, although the stories are still housed as well in the curriculum form, we've put them here so that we can tag them up. So if you're talking about the story of Native Americans, which I'm sure is coming out soon, and you click on this portion, it'll be there, as well as all the supporting materials, so that you can print all that out and present it all at the same time. This way it's all, put together in one package. So that's a little nifty feature here that doesn't exist in the other parts of our curriculum. And those are pretty much a walkthrough of our subjects. Like I said, they're all pretty much the same, nice flow, easy, repetitive, so that you can know exactly where you're going to and where to follow. Are there any questions about those particular topics or those subjects, or how to navigate those petals before we move on? Charles, any questions that we have happening?
Not at the moment.
All right, great. I think we're doing a good job then. Okay.
I agree.
All right, awesome. So let's move on to our next. Let's see. We did the subjects. Our next questions. Okay, this is fun. The classroom. When you go into the classroom, every week we are going to be hosting 2 live workshops. Those are where we are giving lessons in a live form, and we have different educators that are doing that. We would click the live workshops. These are separate from our webinars. When you click on the live workshop, you're going to see a calendar. And on the calendar are going to be the names of the lessons that we're giving. The first one is always for the primary flower, and the second one is always for the elementary flower. And so when you click on it, Sun and Earth, that's one of our first things right here. It tells you the time, how long it is, the educator that's giving you the lesson, a little description about the lesson, and the Zoom link right there for you to click on and join us at that time. We have it set up, and as the curriculum progresses, we'll be adding more and more, but this is for September right here. And Mimosa, you want to talk a little bit about our celebrities this year?
I do. I'd like to roll out the red carpet for them every day. I should. We have 4 educators this year. I'll start with elementary, Mr. John and Miss Ashley. Outstanding educators. One of the things that really gets to me when I look across the country and homeschool programs, or really any education program, you have a lot of unqualified people who are teaching children. And so our goal was to be the antithesis to that. Mr. John has a master's degree. He's also trained in AMI. He's also a college professor in mathematics. So his mathematics goes all the way up to deep calculus trigonometry. And he is a phenomenal member of our team. He's been with the schoolhouse for 3 years. Miss Ashley as well, master's degree. That is a minimum requirement for the schoolhouse in New York. In addition to their master's degree, however, they must complete a 2-year AMI training, which is, in my opinion, the best teacher training in the world. We talked about that in the last webinar. What I love about these 2 educators is that they have such a connection with the kiddos, and they are really good at explaining the material in the lessons, which is going to be helpful when you get into Sun and Earth, part 1, 2, and 3, those things you'll share with your children. Miss Caitlin, again, master's degree, bare minimum, but she is also trained in both AMS and AMI teacher training. So she has a phenomenal resume. Again, all of these folks run their own classrooms at the schoolhouse. So they are on the ground teaching the things that they are going to be sharing with you on a regular basis. And then we have the wonderful, I'm sorry, who's the fourth?
Nicole Walker, right there. I put her up for you.
Oh my gosh. You know what? I blanked on her because Nicole Walker has just left the primary classroom, much to everybody's deep, deep sadness, by the way. And we got more phone calls than we've ever gotten on an educator switching roles. She has gone on to become the director of the Little House, which is our toddler program, 18 months to 3 years old, as well as one of our celebrity educators this year. So she had her own toddler and decided that she was going to focus on toddlerhood for us and expanding the Little House across the nation, and also appearing with all of you. She is, in a word, beloved. I don't know how else to say it, and just one of my favorite people. So those are the 4 celebrities we'll have this year. And every year, our educators sort of vie for the position to be sharing their talents with the country. And so we may even have new and more educators next year.
And you know, Mimosa, I've been working with them very closely for the summer, trying to get everything, in order for them to pick their films. They are so excited to do this. So I'm really thankful that we're working with them this year. So I want to show you the other parts of our classroom. We also have our printable materials. So should you wish to set up your entire classroom and print everything out all at once, here is the entire conglomeration of printable materials. That's a tongue twister that we have for. This is on every single petal. So though we've also delineated it by subject, you can go right on here and print out every single one of them and set up your space. And all you have to do is just simply click on the picture. It downloads and you can print it out. Just get some really good cardstock, cut it up and laminate it for however it works for you. And then the other part of our classroom, I like to go back. We have materials to purchase. So we have paired up with Allison Montessori, and we have 3 different options. We have the bookshelf, the spare room, and the classroom. And so depending on your home and your plans, the bookshelf is meant for those of you that just don't have much space and just want to get those really tactile, essential materials that kind of are used the most frequently. The spare room is if you have that extra room perhaps in your house, not too big, but that extra room where you want to have a little bit more. And then of course, if you're like me and you're opening up your own satellite, then you're going to purchase this classroom with the materials. But you simply have to click on the buy now, and it takes you over to Allison Montessori with all of the materials in there, and you can just add it to your cart and purchase. And the same goes for, you can see the difference though between the bookshelf versus the classroom, which has quite a bit more materials.
One thing I want to say about materials is one of the reasons, there are a lot of reasons we chose Dr. Montessori's methodology for the AEC. Remember that Montessori is a methodology, it's not a curriculum. And one of the things that I do love about her methodology is that she uses tactile materials. So important, particularly in math, that your child is handling materials. We see this a lot from public or traditional school, where a child will come in and you will say, what is this number? And that child will say, it's 18. And you will ask them, well, okay, can you show me what 18 is? They have no idea. So they have actually memorized what that number 18 is. But in terms of understanding that it's a 10 and 8 units, there is no core learning behind that number 18. And that's where you find children getting so behind in math. And then by 7 and 8 years old, it's funny, I was just talking to a math educator the other day, and he said, it's fractions that kill them. Do you like that, Tara?
I love fractions.
I know. You have 8 and 9 year olds that will come in, particularly boys, right? Because our boys are just not uplifted in traditional school because they move a lot and they're loud and they're dirty and they're messy, as boys should be. But particularly, he said, 8 and 9 year old boys, when they get to fractions, they just say forget it. And that's why I love these materials. Each room in the schoolhouse has a full set of materials, and fractions are particularly a great material because you're actually pulling apart the fractions of a whole. And so you can feel it and touch it without just doing it on paper, which makes no sense at all.
I have to add to that too, because my son is 8 years old and he is a whiz at fractions because of the materials.
Well, so
And-
is his mom.
Yeah.
You're amazing.
Thanks. But no, compared to some of the other children that I've experienced who haven't had their hands on the materials, he gets it, he sees it, he visualizes, he understands the equivalency. He's already finding common denominators because it just makes sense to him, thanks to the material. So, you know, we utilize them in different ways with the schoolhouse and the American Emerging Curriculum, but this is a way for you. You can print those out or you can purchase them here. So whatever works best for your family. But as I said, some of them we couldn't make in printable form, so you may want to consider the bookshelf or the spare room, depending on the space that you have. But it's there for you. I want to show you a little bit here. I'm jumping a little ahead, but to office hours. So should you need to reach me or someone else who's operating, should you need to reach us, you have the option to go here. This is office hours. I ask that you either go to the discussion boards, which we're going to talk about later. We have our Q&A area as well, or you can send us an email first. But if either one of those three have not worked for you, you can schedule a 15-minute meeting with myself or another person who may be hosting it. And you just simply schedule your meeting right here, put your name and your email, and then I want you to put the specific questions that you're looking to answer, to have answered, and then you're going to set a time that we can meet. And then you just submit it, and that'll set an immediate meeting or schedule an immediate meeting with myself or with someone else who'll be addressing that issue. But the more specific you are with the topic of your discussion or your question, the better and more efficient I can answer it when we meet together. But that allows you to have direct live support should you need some help with that and not be able to get it. The many other community aspects that we've built of this pedal. Speaking of the fact that we're down here, I just want to show you our operations pedal. Our operations blue sticky note, sorry. We have several different doors here. Team biographies is pretty obvious. Questions and answers as well, same place. Communications, Mimosa, would you like to speak a little bit about communications? In here are going to be housed, as the school year progresses, different ways that the schoolhouse communicates with the community. Maybe you want to give some examples.
Sure thing. One of the things that I'm really pleased about at the schoolhouse, and again, when we started the schoolhouse, we thought, what are the 200 things that people can't stand about education in the United States? And we decided to try to solve those problems. Well, at the top of the list, well, not the top, but let's say top 5, was communication. They didn't know what was happening in the classroom. They weren't aware of what their child was learning every day. They then couldn't, this wasn't a political thing. It's just recently become politicized. They really just wanted to participate in their child's education. And so when they came home, if they happened to be studying Panama, they could further that education. So really important in communications is how we in New York communicate with our parents, and it's often. So first and foremost is the weekly newsletter. We want to share with parents exactly what's happening in the classroom, why we used these materials, how they were introduced, how we introduced the stories, and what was the outcome from the child. And so we can also share films, videos, books that were read in the classroom, and that gives you an opportunity to follow up with regard to communication. The second is events. And so it doesn't matter if you're at home, you can always find other people in your community to connect. And in New York, this year is our 5th year. And so we'll be having a lot of 5 events everywhere, movie nights and, opportunities for us to get together as a community, for instance, with a renowned child psychologist, Dr. Joanna, time for parents to interact with one another, time for us to share the stories to our parents. One of the things I love is that next week on September 14th, we'll be having our parent back to school night. So parents they're able to come into the classroom, use the materials. We walk them through a day. So they actually know, some parents get really funny with it. They have their children pack their own lunch or dinner and all these things. But we want them to feel like their child as they walk through. And so that's a great event that is capped off with a pretty nice formal reception in our garden at the schoolhouse. So this is the place where we will show you how to communicate. We will keep in touch with you here. And it's a smaller version of the bigger network communication, which we'll show you in a moment.
Awesome. And yes, and the classroom and school management is just that. So we're going to house a whole bunch of material in here, but inside of here for now, we have actually some what we like to call playbooks for should you decide to open a school or a satellite location. We're going to take you step by step of all the things you need to consider, all the things you need to do, and from different angles. Playbooks for the principal, playbooks for the educator, playbooks for the satellite opening. All those different things will be in here, as well as, oh wait, I forgot to show my favorite thing that I know Mimosa wrote, the Bill of Rights. Right, so this is sort of essential to any schoolhouse that will be opening and goes on every wall or every door of the schoolhouse, just to make sure. So the next part I want to show you that we have before we get to questions is transparent classroom. So when you click on transparent classroom, this is going to take you to the website of transparent classroom. When you sign up for the program, after you get established, we're going to send you an invite, of which point allows you to sign into the transparent classroom. But we use transparent classroom specifically for helping you to track your child's progress. I'm going to turn it back to Mimosa as well to speak a little bit more about transparent classroom.
So I love Transparent Classroom. This is a small company we found in the
Oh, looks like she froze a little bit.
classroom that was light and beautiful and really parent friendly and really user friendly for the educators. What is beautiful about our relationship with them now 5 years later is that
Mimosa, I think
You have a little internet hiccup.
mathematics, which happens in the first month of school. You will then go find the story of mathematics. You'll be able to click on that. You'll be able to say, okay, they've completed this story. And then there are usually follow-up works that come with that. And so one of the follow-up works for the story of mathematics off the top of my head is investigate the history of mathematics from the Incas' point of view. Right? We know the Babylonians, we know the Egyptians, we know the Phoenicians, we know the Chinese, but very little attention is focused on South America. So one of the works will be that. When they do that work, you'll be able to check it off and you'll be able to click that it was introduced. So you've introduced the work to them. It was practiced or it was mastered. If it's practiced, it really just means that the child has done a good job. You know, they've sort of started their way, but you know that you're going to need to help them a little bit more throughout their learning journey. That doesn't mean it's not a grade. So it's not saying, oh, you didn't do such a great job. You know, tomorrow I'm going to come home and I'm going to hammer that down to you. No, it just means that there's a little note for educators in Transparent Classroom or parents where they can say, I'm going to spend some time on the grammar aspect of the paragraph they wrote on the history of math in the Incas. And so you have that for your record. And then mastered is if they just hit it out, they were hitting all cylinders when they did that particular work, you'll be able to track that. What's great about Transparent Classroom is you can click on almost anything and it'll give you a report. So click on a child, you'll know what you've taught them, you'll know what they've mastered, you know what they're practicing. You can put photographs into that. You can create whole portfolios for whichever state you're in and those requirements. And it's also a program that's very unique to the schoolhouse. And so every child that joins this national community will have their own unique identity in the Transparent Classroom software program.
And I just want to add to that, Mimosa, when you're looking at the lessons that you put into Transparent Classroom, if you hover over it and click on that lesson, it actually shows a detailed definition as to why we're giving that lesson and what they're learning from that lesson. Helps you to understand the standards and the purpose behind each lesson that you've put into there. So that can answer a lot of questions for parents as well, as they're wondering, why is my child playing with these pink towers? I don't understand why pink blocks have anything to do with what they're learning. But if you click right on the pink tower, it'll show you exactly what they're learning from it and what skills they're gaining from it. And the other thing I want to Sorry,
Yeah,
go ahead.
I think you were going to cover this, Tara, but they have phenomenal training films that are quite short, but also really in depth in terms of using Transparent Classroom. And so everybody that comes aboard this program, we want you to take some time and go through that, because this will become your baby. Our educators use Transparent Classroom multiple times a day. This is, again, where they're uploading photos where they're saying, you know, the last time they did the equivalency box, where did I leave that? And you can also, of course, always make your handwritten notes, but this is just a great system for tracking.
And so on that note, I would say to start to watch those films now, because there are numerous ones that are really detailed. So even though we're not opening until Monday, that's something you can start to do over the weekend as parents if you want to. On a separate note, just stating that depending on who you are in this program, so if you are a member of the schoolhouse in New York or the schoolhouse in Vero Beach, you will only have parent access, because the educators or the heads of the school are the administrators. But if you are homeschooling at home, you will have your own classroom at home, and you're going to be the administrator of that. So parents who attend a live location are not going to be able to change anything, but they still can hover over and they can still watch the informational films just to see how it works. But parents that are educating at home should really watch those videos, because you're going to become the master of your own domain within Transparent Classroom. But these are also great for homeschooling parents, because especially for states like Florida, you have to keep a portfolio for 2 years. And instead of having to keep this big bulky portfolio, you can simply just print out Transparent Classroom and you have everything you need. And you can just keep select work from your children, so that when you have to show your portfolio at the end of the year, it's all there. So any questions on all of that before we go to our last pedal? No questions? Well, we covered a lot there. There has to be one or two. Donna, you're raising your hand physically? You're muted. You have to unmute. No? Okay. All right. So the last part of our flower that I'd like to show you is the community petal. So when you click on community, I'm going to take you right over to it. When you click on this, it's going to take you right to this page. When you get to it, you're going to have to log in and create your own account. But once you create your own account, it'll set you up right here. And we are very particularly excited about this part of our program, because it is also one of our more unique features. So right here, we have many opportunities for you to engage with each other. So this is how we have brought out a way to create community and to connect you all through this program that we're using. So right here, we have a whole bunch of different categories where I'm going to show you where everything is housed very quickly. And you can go peruse it. This you should already have access to if you've registered properly. And so right here, we have Let's Discuss. This is an opportunity for you to ask any and all questions regarding the curriculum, education, or anything to do with the Schoolhouse Anywhere. And this gives an opportunity for other people to comment. So if you need some advice, you need some clarification on a subject or a topic, or where a video is, you can post that question right in here. We have educators that are dedicated at the Schoolhouse towards answering some of those questions, as well as myself and any other parents that can come in here and maybe have experienced the same thing or faced the same challenge and have an answer. You can comment and post along with everyone else. I know that some of you are really creative as well. And so this is an opportunity for you to share your creativity. If you've created a worksheet, or you've made your own material, or you found or made something that you feel is really beneficial and has worked well with the curriculum, you can share that material on here. All you have to do is click on here, and then just right here, add a photo or a file, and you can share it with everybody that they can download it and use it at home. We have so many books that are recommended in our website, but we are not a library, so that doesn't mean that we've seen everything. So if you found a really fabulous book that accompanies the curriculum, or maybe it's just a fabulous book that you think every parent should read, that's not on our website, please post it in here. Let's create our own library to go along with everything that we're doing. Right here, so we've made a lot of our own materials, but sometimes we found some pretty marvelous things that were created by others, and we've utilized some places, some websites like ELC Montessori or Teachers Pay Teachers, or there's plenty of other places that we've found some really great materials. And so if we found them useful as we've gone through the curriculum, we're going to share them here so you have the option to purchase them from those creators as well. Or if you found some that you think were really beneficial, you can post them on here for others to purchase too. And it should just link directly to the website of the place that you're seeing them. So
I also want to say,
Yeah, go ahead.
especially in the realm of Reggio Emilia, when you start seeing how your child reacts to having an atelier, to going through the Reggio Emilia component of the American Emergent Curriculum, you're going to have a lot of beautiful things to post and to share with others, particularly when it comes to documentation. A big part of the AEC, as I mentioned before, is documenting and putting up on your walls and telling the story about how this work came to be. And that's always great to share. Socratic Seminar, if you had a particularly great topic that really got the children thinking and wanting to share. And also project-based learning, you're going to see a lot from the schoolhouse this year. When we get into that, we start project-based learning in January. And that's when we start our own companies. And you get to see the products, how much they're earning, how they're selling their products. And also our farm stand starts in late September. So that's also a place where you'll see a lot of innovation. But as communities start these schools and as all of you start your homeschooling journey, you're going to have so many ideas. And this is one particularly great place to share those with others.
Yeah. So that is absolutely, and I would suggest if we could do most of those in the Let's Share area for sure. And then right here we have, and most of you spoke about our weekly newsletters that all of the educators send out. And so not only will parents or people that are looking to start satellites have the outline of that newsletter in the website, we are going to be posting all of the different newsletters right here on a weekly basis from all the different educators, myself included, so that you as a parent at home can go and read and get ideas, like you had said, since we're following a week behind you. It's a perfect place to go look and get a million ideas. There's pictures on them. There's book recommendations. There's so many creative things that the educators come out with and they put in their weekly newsletters. So please feel free to look on here, and you may just have all that you need between the curriculum and the newsletter for what you're doing the following week. So along with the films that we've recommended in the curriculum and we have set aside, we also have we have a little thing here called Let's Watch. And so here we're going to have our supportive films. So for example, we have Miss Olga.
Sarah, did I add to that in the feed yet? Did I?
No, not yet. You have your one, the hardest way to get to school. You have to put it in there. But
I did. I thought I did, but I'll check that. For everybody here tonight, I love for children to start off the school year with the most dangerous ways to school. This is a series. Yeah, I know, for instance, Ashley, you have a kindergartner. That's probably the lowest age I would go to. There's nothing gnarly in it. I used to work in the entertainment industry, so I'm really strict on what I show my child. My son just entered 7th grade and he just got a phone the other day and it only has call and text on it. So, when he's 18, I'll let him have like the camera back or something. I don't know. But yeah, so Tara, I didn't even tell you that. Yes, I did capitulate. But anyway, the most dangerous ways to school. Oh, here it is. Yep. You can get that on Prime. It is fantastic. It is a series that shows children, if they are in Africa, if they're in Asia, if they are in, the outskirts of Alaska, what they have to do to get to school every day. And it usually involves an hour-and-a-half trek each way, a pretty dangerous trek. And it just gives us all some perspective. So I always recommend to families as we start the school year that they share that with their little ones. And always watch things with your little ones. Don't just put them in front of a screen. That'll be a whole nother webinar, Charles. But watch things, because it is the communication you have with them as you're watching, the questions as you're watching, that really creates that connection with your child.
And Mimosa, we actually, with my children, just to share the story, we watched that the first year that we started with the schoolhouse in 2019. And we were a little bit obsessed with the family in Siberia, and how when they went outside, their eyeballs froze, like the tears froze in their eyes. And my children asked me to put Siberia, the weather in Siberia, on my phone so that they frequently check, well, what's the temperature in Siberia? Are there tears freezing in their eyes right now? So
That's right.
it's been 3 years.
So
and
when the beverage in the car isn't the right temperature is when I go back to showing the most dangerous ways to school. And let's have some perspective in the world. All right.
Exactly. And we're also going to have on here, besides the wonderful films that I know most of you always share with us each year because you scour through them in such a wonderful way. I've asked Miss Olga, who's the music teacher at the schoolhouse, to put some music videos that'll accompany. I know where Native Americans is the culture we're first diving into. So she's going to post some films and some musical things that we can watch along with it. And I've asked Miss Anna, our science teacher, who comes out with these great experiments. If she finds a YouTube video of somebody giving that experiment that she has created or something along those lines to help us understand it, she's going to post a link to that as well to help parents navigate that. So this is a great.
That's great. That's
Mhm.
really great. Her experiments are awesome.
They are awesome. And so I've asked her to help us out a little bit with that at home. And here's the opportunity for parents to share their pictures of their children's work right here. We want to see it. The schoolhouse is going to post pictures of the children's work here, but we want families at home as well to post pictures of their children's work that are on here. Sharing ideas helps us as parents and as educators to just do more for our children. The other thing that we are really focused on here at the schoolhouse is the whole child, right? So it's not just about education. Although that is essentially what we're providing, you can't educate a child unless they're well, mentally, physically, emotionally, educationally. And so it doesn't always come to learning about Native Americans, right? Sometimes it comes to making sure they have a good night's sleep, that they eat nutritional foods, that they are happy, that they get natural light. All of those different things that encompass a well child. These are the areas that we're going to discuss it. We're going to talk about how to manage behavioral challenges that may come about. Anything that you can think of that's outside the realm of education, but has to do with the well-being of your child, we can post here. If you find any articles that you think are helpful, please share them, and we're going to do the same. And then because we all get inundated with emails and we never know where to find them, we're going to house our emails that we send out right here. So if you're ever thinking, oh my gosh, I was looking for this email that said this and I can't find it, well, you can go right to Let's Email, and then you can go right to the search topic up here, and you can type in whatever you're searching for, and then up will pop the email that you're looking for. And then last, I'm going to leave you, we have down here, Let's Gather and Let's Listen. So Let's Gather is where we're going to host our many webinars that we're going to do this year. I know Mimosa and I have quite a few planned, and I'm really excited about them. This is just the kickoff to many. And I know we have more without us that other people are going to host. I know, Mimosa, do you have a few that you want to tell them about?
I do. I'm going to be working with Charles to track. I'm starting to write my book for Random House about the building of the schoolhouse. And so I'll be writing that this year. And we will be tracking its progress and things that I learn along the way. We'll be working with Dr. Joanna, as I mentioned before, on child psychology, which is different than child pedagogy, right? So pedagogical science, looking at how children learn, child psychology going a lot deeper into behaviors. And then there are specific topics. If anyone here wants to follow me on Mimosa Jones Tunney on Instagram or on LinkedIn, I cover a number of topics from the really simple, like, for instance, if you look around your house, where is your art? Where does it live? It lives on your wall, but where on your wall, right? Usually at eye level. Right? So why do we have classrooms full of bulletin boards and artwork and everything else at the adult level or above? You've seen these classrooms, they're all over the place. So things like that are very small that we don't realize we're creating classrooms and environments for adults and not for children, to bigger topics of why are we obsessed with teaching children all the negativity that's going on in the world, rather than teaching them how spectacular human beings are. We invented language, we invented mathematics. We've been able to solve tremendous problems in the world. Those are deep subjects that we'll be discussing with people from around the country. And so these webinars, I'll be doing about one a month. And we look forward to seeing everybody there. And of course, Tara and the team will be doing their own set. Great webinar also that I encourage you to tune into is from Miss Meg, our principal, She's been in education for 20 years. She gives some of the most solid advice on behavior of the child and how to run and operate a school if that's something you're looking into doing. So
Yeah,
those
we're
are
actually
all
gonna, we're gonna have a little advice column of Ask Miss Meg, where she
best.
can give her little 10-minute soliloquies on ways to handle things, and we're gonna post them here. She may film them in advance because I know she's super busy, but we're gonna post them here as far as her recordings go. And then we have our Let's Listen, right? For any podcast that we think would be great and worthy of listening to. And I know, Mimosa, you're talking about hopefully creating one down the line with the kids, is my understanding, right?
Yeah, it'll be a kid-focused, child-focused, learner-focused podcast that'll probably begin in 24-25. I'll be doing a number of podcast visits on different podcasts across the country this year. But the child one will be the most interesting. They'll be doing a version of jaywalking, so blue jay walking. That's our mascot, the blue jay. Where they go out and actually ask adults questions of things that they've learned. And it's, of course, the most hysterical because grownups know very little compared to children. So that'll be upcoming, and it'll be hosted by children as well. So it fulfills part of our commitment to project-based learning.
And any other podcasts that you're on, or anybody else that the schoolhouse is on, and anything that we think are interesting will all be put here. And this is our community pedal. And so this pretty much encompasses our entire website. And I want to ask or open it to any and all questions on everything that we've talked about. We gave a lot of information. I know we answered a lot of questions, but are there any additional questions that anyone has? Comments, thoughts?
Ashley.
Hi. So for the dangerous ways to school, I did read it because it came across my email. But I didn't realize it was a video to watch. Is there a link included in it? Because I didn't see one.
Let's see.
That's great. Let's add that. I purchased it on Prime, on Amazon
Oh.
Prime.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Continue. Let's see. Bottom. No, I only have the hashtag. So yeah, we can add that, Tara, if you don't mind, so that people can access that link. But if you go on Prime and type that in, you'll be able to watch the series. I believe there's 2 or 3 seasons, and each episode is 49 minutes.
Okay.
And you learn so much about the topography, the culture. Just it's phenomenal.
I do have a couple other questions, if that's okay.
Of course.
Okay. For the transparent classroom, I was just trying to figure out how to word it in my mind because it just didn't make sense, but it did. When you were saying that for the parents that are homeschooling fully, they will have full access. For the parents that are like at the New York school and at the Vero Beach location or satellite location, they're gonna just have parental access.
Yes.
So when you say that, we're still gonna be doing a homeschooling portion with the child at home. That is correct, right?
So Ashley, that's a specific question for my school. We can talk about that.
All right, not a problem. The other question is, what was the Instagram you had mentioned?
Oh, sure. So my full name, Mimosa Jones Tunney. And I'm on Instagram, LinkedIn, and X as well. So I often, just today, I reposted an article from The Atlantic, one from the Washington Post, one from the New York Times. I was working with Charles on where are all the students? That's what the New York Times asked today. So I responded, well, why are they going to a place where everything is uninteresting and boring? Of course, that's where the students aren't there anymore. So these are just the hottest topics in education. And I try to keep it updated multiple times a week, if not every day.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
You're
Yeah.
welcome.
I will put Mimosa's handle information as well as the schoolhouse's handle information in the chat so you guys have it easily accessible.
Anything else we can answer for everyone? I mean, you take your time, but you know, the Kansas City Chiefs are playing in 50 minutes. So short questions. No, in all seriousness, anything else that we can help you with?
No.
Is there any feedback on the structure of the Anywhere program? Do you find it easy? Do you find it self-explanatory? I know you're not actually using it right now, but as you do get into the program, again, this is our beta launch of the program until May of 2024. And so everybody who's using the program right now is helping to change school in America. You are allowing us to see what we need to change, what we need to make easier, how we're connecting our community, how we're inviting people in our community, with the hope that at the end of the day, you know, there is a schoolhouse in every town in America. So, for me personally is the only way I see to change education in the country. It's beyond repair or reform at this point. So, you know, my heartfelt thanks to Charles, of course, to Tara, who does more work than anybody else that I know on the planet, really, more than me. And to all of you as parents who are taking this huge leap with us. I believe in my soul that every single thing we see in our country and across the world today is linked to how we treat our 0 to 12-year-olds. And so unless we change that, we're at a real deficit, and we all have the power to change it. So thank you for being part of what we're doing here and for giving us, you know, honest, kind feedback as we go along so that we can make those changes and improvements.
Thank you
I
very
think
much,
it's
Sonia.
football night in America. Okay, Tara.
Let's go. I have to go to soccer, actually.
Okay, here we go. Thanks everybody. Thank you. And can't wait for Monday.
Same thing. Thanks so much, everyone. Have a great weekend.